Hi, good morning everyone. So this is Sudhir. I was working in this IT industry from past 9 years, and I'm holding a certificate of CKA, CKAD, and CKS as well. All the Kubernetes certificates and AWS Solution Architect Associate as well. So this is my short introduction, like what I doing. I was working on this Kubernetes from past 4 years, 4 5 years actually. So where I started my career on this DevOps and Docker and Kubernetes containerization technology. So here we are today to discuss about it's like introduction come this actual class which we start from today. So as I already told in the syllabus, we will be starting with Linux operating system and then networking part. It's not a Cisco level routing, like routers level networking. So what is IP address, classes, subnet mask, how to assign an IP address to your operating system. Okay, so how you need to ensure we are reachable to that particular network, and also these basic things which are needed for us. So that will help you for troubleshooting and other parts when you work on actual containerization tools or any other tools actually. Okay, so that's where the networking part comes, and then I will be talking about then we'll be starting with Docker tools, like we have Docker Engine, Docker Compose, Docker Machine, Docker Swag. Okay, and then we will be seeing Docker dashboard, and then we will be understanding what is YAML and JSON, and then Kubernetes. In Kubernetes, all the topics. It's not that we will be not covering anything else except service mesh. Everything will be covered. Okay, ingress, network policy, audit logging, then ingress, daemon set, deployment, stateful set, config map, secrets, everything. Okay, and then we will be understanding in depth of like each and every part what we are going to discuss in Kubernetes, how the load balancer works with the service, what is ingress, how will you allow the external communication to your applications running inside the Kubernetes cluster. All these things we will be discussing in the Kubernetes. Once the Kubernetes part is done, dashboard, and we will be deploying monitoring tools like EFK, Elasticsearch, Fluentd, and Kibana. Fluentd or Fluentbit, any one of them will be using in order to fetch the logs and push it to the Elasticsearch and then view in the Kibana dashboard. That's how we do. Either we'll deploy that through Helm chart or through manifest. So then we'll be talking about Helm charts. After the Helm charts are done, so when you are managing some huge cluster, right, it is not that easy to maintain the manifest files. Manifest files in the sense individual YAML files to deploy an application. Technically they call it as manifest. Okay, so don't think it is a new thing or new one. It's simple manifest. A manifest is nothing but your YAML files related to that particular application. So instead of maintaining those many YAML files, Helm is a tool where if you want to deploy some application, it will we will create all the YAML files which are needed for that particular application as a chart, means as a template. That template will be used, it will follow some particular rendering and all. So where we write some particular templates has a specific way of writing it. So we write it and all the application related things will be ready, which is called as chart. That chart will be deployed into your Kubernetes cluster using this Helm tool. Okay, so that is a way. So it is really important for us to learn that. Why? Because when you are working on Kubernetes or maybe in future you are working on it, Helm tool will be simplifying your job. We can do with Helm, we can do an upgrade of your application on the cluster. We can run some testing as well. So many things can be covered in the Helm itself. So that is really important for us to learn. So that is like that was added to the part of the course. And once that is done, we will be looking into one infrastructure as a code tool, that is nothing but Terraform. How a Terraform can be used, what is the benefit of a Terraform tool like infrastructure as a code, what does it does exactly, how many tools we have under that, why we have chosen Terraform, and how Terraform will be useful for your Kubernetes to launch your to create your infrastructure for the applications. Okay, this is the whole topics what we are going to cover in this particular entire course. And anything related to CKA and CKAD exam related questions, I will be telling in the part of the course itself. So you have to make a note. At the end of the course, I will be giving you the questions with the answers, how to like, which will be useful for you to crack the exam. Okay, whether it is CKA or CKAD. Okay, the only thing what I need is like you have to practice whatever the topics we have discussed and what are the assignments are given to you. Like it's up to you how you practice, but that's how you can crack the exam. It's not that tough actually. If you have some proper grip on your what you have learned, that is enough to crack the exams certifications. It is not that tough. Only thing is like other certifications are like choose the correct answers. Here it is like you have to practically do it. Okay, they will give you some questions, they will give you the requirement, you have to solve that. Okay, practically you will have only 2 hours, 16 questions, pass percentage is 66 marks. Okay, every question will have some weightage like 4%, 7%, 14% sometimes. Okay, so these are, if people are really interested on CKAS exam, that we will be discussed later, but for CKA and CKAD's certifications, this will be covered as a part of the course. Okay, no need to worry too much about the separate training for that particular CKA and CKAD. It will be the part of the course itself. Okay, just you have to practice and then you can clear it. Okay, only thing is like you have to have a time management. That's it. That's the only concern we have in the examination. How you write your Red Hat certifications, right? Similar to that practical work. It's not theoretical like AWS or any Terraform or Docker related certifications. Okay, this is the quick introduction, like what we are going to discuss in this entire course. If someone is looking, so one thing I just want to make a clear point that everything whatever we do, I will show you practically on our on-premises setup. On-premises setup in the sense in our own servers. I'm not relying on any cloud, okay, or any cloud service. Why and all, I already gave a reason for this to every batch actually. Reason is if you learn how to do it on your own on a particular server, it is easy for you to manage your cloud providers. It's not that easy, not that tough actually. Only just you have to know where are the options. That's it. Okay. So the problem is if you directly learn that services, right, you never know what is happening underlying it. Okay. So that's the reason I started in this way of teaching, like on-premises setup, where if someone asks you to create a Kubernetes cluster, you have to be in a position of that actually. Okay. Or to maintain that or troubleshooting that. When you are using some services, right, it will be done by your cloud providers itself. You will never know what to do and how to troubleshoot it. Okay, so let's not go into that particular problem which will affect your career, right? So let's not go into that. So cloud services, if especially are looking people who are looking at cloud provider services for Kubernetes, maybe I'm not the right person to teach, but I can help you. Okay, once I train on this particular on-premises, right, for you guys it's so easy to manage. Okay, AKS or EKS or GKS, it's not that tough. Go select your how many nodes you want, select the Kubernetes version, deploy. That's it. Nothing else you do. Okay, so what networking you are selecting, what is that background code, what DNS it is using, you will never come to know until you are especially interested on it. Okay, so let us learn from scratch. When you're working on product based companies, right, they don't go for cloud, they go only on premises, they do their own setups. Then you have to be in a position, though you are trained in Kubernetes on AWS and GKS, you will never know that particular area, right? So that will be again a problem for our career. So let us not go in depth. So let's be in this particular area of on-premises setups. Okay, everything I'll show from scratch. No need to worry. The only thing what I need is like if you have your systems with proper memory and CPU, like minimum of 4 core CPU and 8 GB of RAM. This is enough for us to do your own setup, or else don't think any plan to buy a new laptop and all. You can use your GCP account. I'm not talking about GKS, AKS or GKS or CKS, whatever it is. Okay, I'm not talking about Kubernetes service in GCP. You need to use GCP account to create a service and practice on that particular service. Okay, if you don't have any resource, no need to worry. Create a GCP account with your Gmail account. I will tell you, I'll share the video how to do it. Okay, you can watch that video. You can see how to create a GCP account, create a service, and then form Kubernetes cluster on top of it. Okay, We are not using any Google Cloud related Kubernetes service. Okay, we are only utilizing the servers. Since you don't have your enough resource on your system, that's the only thing what we are doing actually. Okay, this is all the like what we are going to teach, what is the requirement and all. So if you have any questions, one by one can ask me, and then I can go into the actual class. Yeah. Any questions, please? Anything that you are looking for, or anything that is not covered, or anything, please.
Hi, Sudhir. This is Arsham.
Yeah, sure.
Sudhir, are you covering Jenkins in this course?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for reminding. Yeah. So whatever the things we are doing on this Docker and Kubernetes, right? You have to automate the process. Automate in the sense, every day I cannot build the images through manual steps, right? I need to have some GitHub. Okay, I need to push my image related information in the GitHub. Automatically, something there should be there in order to automate this particular process. Okay, so how I need to do? Okay, how I can do on the Docker level, how I can do on Kubernetes level. Kubernetes level in the sense it's not about images. If you have some manifest files or Helm charts, when you push it to the GitHub, it has to Jenkins has automatically detected and it has to deploy on my cluster. So this is like automation process, some real-time projects what we do. Okay, Jenkins, Git, and databases, web applications. So these are the things which I will be using in the entire course to show you some real-time scenarios how we use Docker and Kubernetes to orchestrate. Okay, that's a point
Okay,
which
thank
I'm
you.
going to cover. Yeah, yeah. A pod template, pipelines, how to write a pipeline. DSL, I'm not talking about Groovy. Groovy is a bit tough. People will get confused. Okay, if I start teaching on Groovy. Okay, so not Groovy, only DSL in the Jenkins. You know what is DSL, right? Yeah. So that's how. So automating the process completely. So that's what I'll be just showing in the exams, like in the course actually. That is not useful for your exam, but anyway. You can ask me directly, like, will you teach the base on Docker or everything? Everything will be covered in Docker. So from my point of view, or like in the real time, we use only in the Docker tools. We have totally four, right? Docker Engine, Docker Compose, Docker Machine, and Docker Swarm. Docker Swarm, Docker Machine, we don't use it in the real time. Okay, only Docker Compose and Docker Engine. Docker Engine is a main thing, right, which will create a containers for us. Okay, so these are the two tools which you have to more concentrate on it. Okay, Docker Swarm we are not using because Kubernetes came into picture. It has more functionalities than what Docker Swarm is having. Okay, so everybody stopped using this Docker Swarm. So it is waste of time for you to practice more on that. So let us concentrate on the tools which are used in the real time and which are useful for us, for our career actually. So practice more on that. So among these four tools, Docker Engine and Docker Compose are useful for you. Okay, for automation purpose or for building the images or to run your applications as a standalone containers. So this will be useful. These two tools are useful. Docker Engine, sorry, Docker Machine and Docker Swarm we are not using actually in the real-time projects. Yeah. So we have to plan in that way actually. Okay. Kubernetes, everything you have to know A to Z. So that I will be covering. No need to worry about it. And how much time you need to crack the CK exam after completion of your batch? See, it depends upon your practice. See, it's not about how much time it will take to clear the exam. It depends upon how much you have practiced for the exam. Okay, it doesn't depend on me. It depends upon you. Okay, practice. What I believe is, if you practice thoroughly for 1 week with the questions and with the topics after the course, 1 week you can clear the exam. It's not that tough actually. CK or CKAD. CKA is nothing but Certified Kubernetes Administration. CKAD is nothing but Certified Kubernetes Application Development. Okay, and there is one more certification actually, that is you have to write only when you clear either CKA or CKAD. Okay, then only you can write CKS. That is nothing but Certified Kubernetes Security Specialist. Okay, so these are the maximum 3 certificates we have for Kubernetes. Okay, so those are like full valuable for you. If you try to clear the exam, maybe 17,000 INR actually. In Indian rupees, it is 17,000. What is the current? Yeah. So one of our colleagues, like one of our batch student is given the promotion code actually. I'll share it with you guys. You can get it for $200 only. $200 in the sense, some 2 are 14, maybe 15,000 around. Instead of paying 17,000 or 18,000, you can pay for 15,000. I will share you the details actually. One of our group member has shared it actually. I will do that. No problem. So yeah, so we will be creating a WhatsApp group. So on that WhatsApp group, we'll be discussing the any questions do you have. Instead of waiting for the next day, we'll be discussing on the day itself instead of waiting for the next day. That is one thing we have. Okay. So we're no need to wait for the next day. Even if someone has some answers to it, they will be responding and they will have some proper communication with each other, right? So that's why we're creating a WhatsApp group. Everybody will be added into that because management is having your contact number and the email address. They'll be adding you to the group once the course has been started from today. Okay. What are the prerequisite technologies required for Kubernetes and Docker? Any coding experience? No. Zero. No coding experience is needed for us to start with this particular courses or end with this particular course. Okay, the only thing what we will trying to learn is nothing but YAML and JSON. It's not a language, it's only the way syntaxes we need to follow in order to write a YAML file. That's it. It's not a scripting language. Python and all, it's not needed for us. We are not doing any development side. Yeah, I'll be covering YAML and JSON. That's what I told, right? So I need to tell what is a YAML, how to write a YAML file. Before YAML came into picture, what is a another alternative way we have to write to store the key value pair store like JSON. What is JSON? How we need to write a JSON file? How will you validate whether you have JSON file is correct or not? Those things I have to discuss. Yeah, we'll be discussing that. If we don't know that, it will be really tough to write a Docker Compose file or Kubernetes YAML files. Yes, if I'll be covering that. No need to worry. So prerequisites, technically, if you are strong in Linux, that's fine. That's okay, no problem. It's like it solves half of my burden actually. If everybody is already a good experience or some introduction, if you already have a Linux operating system, that's fine. I can start with networking part. If one person is also not having anything related to Linux operating system, I need to start from there. Even one person. Okay. I hope at least one person will be there somehow because they might come from a development background or some people might come from a testing background or middleware or something like that, right? So I have to go with that. Okay, so people who already know about Linux operating system administration level and all, you can skip first two classes actually. Okay, it's like installing operating system, managing the operating system, how to install the packages, how to manage your operating system. These are the things which I'm going to discuss. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions, please?
Hi Sudhir, am I audible? Am I
Yeah.
audible? Hi Sudhir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, will you
Yeah,
cover some
Rajesh.
rant? Yeah, will you be cover some rancher session?
No. See, we have so many tools actually. Look at
Mm-hmm.
Rancher, we have so many other tools to form your Kubernetes cluster. We have Kind, Minikube, uh, it's like KubeADM, Kops, KubeSpray. So we have now so many tools which you can manage your cluster and all. Among them, sorry, among them, I'll be picking only one tool that is called as KubeADM, which I will be using to form standalone cluster as well as high availability cluster. High availability cluster in the sense you will have three master nodes and rest of the nodes will be worker. If one of the master node is down, there are other two master nodes which will serve the data for your cluster, right? So that is called as high availability. Okay, that high
Okay.
availability cluster I will be using with KubeADM tool itself. Okay, so we will be using for the entire or that will why I'm going for that because your CKA, CKAD or CKS exam or any other exams or some companies are still using KubeADM to form the cluster. Okay, so you will get habituated to that as well. That's the reason intention of using it. We are not using any third party tools like which is not directly supported by Kubernetes community. Rancher and
Okay.
all it's their own development.
Okay, thanks. And just one more question that if I have to start one open source project, then I have two options. Like one is Kubernetes and another is OKD, which is also a Kubernetes. So means what are the factors or what are the things to decide in between these two tools?
See, a development like contribution, are you planning to contribute, or what you are trying to do? Open source means.
No, if I have to start Kubernetes in my project, and
You
I am the
see,
person
first of all,
who
you
has
have
to.
to know what is Kubernetes, what are the components, what are the resources, how many objects we have, what are those objects, how to deploy and all. After that, you can see what are the other different tools we have to form your Kubernetes cluster. See, one thing is clear, whatever the tools you use, they are for you to simplify your job to form your Kubernetes
Sorry,
cluster.
Sudhir. Sorry, Sudhir. I
Right.
am interrupting you. I'm saying
Yeah,
about
okay.
OKD, which is a OpenShift.
Yeah, yeah.
So OpenShift version of the Kubernetes.
OCD.
So yeah,
Yeah.
OKD. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
OKD.
community version of OpenShift. So means what are the difference between these two things? Means pure Kubernetes and OKD
Even open
environment.
source OpenShift project is also something where they have simplified the job in order to interact to your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, that's a platform which they are providing by Red Hat OpenShift team to interact to your Kubernetes cluster. So you might use a different utility command in order to form the Kubernetes cluster. Sorry, to install some particular thing or to deploy some applications on the cluster. Anyway, you have to write a YAML file. That's the main goal. Okay, writing YAML files or running the CLI commands, everything is same. Whatever the tools you use or whichever tools you use to form your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, to start for you, I would suggest go first with the Kubernetes, how it works, what is the things and all with any tool. After that, try to understand what with that tool how I can interact. That's the only thing. Installing the application, deployment, demonstrate, everything is same. What are the platform you use, whether you use OpenShift licensed one or open source or any other AWS or ZKS or EKS or if EKS or your own on-premises Kubernetes cluster. These are the platforms to run your Kubernetes cluster. But after the Kubernetes cluster is created, everything is same. Okay, so to start for you, if you want to go in the licensed if you're really interested with the functionalities that are provided with OpenShift, you can go with it actually. Okay, no problem at all, because if they are in the open source, if they are providing you some registry, inbuilt registry or any other authentication mechanisms and all, that's fine, you can go with OpenShift. Okay, but before going with OpenShift, try to understand what is Kubernetes and all, then you can use a command. So just a simple commands, right? Nothing will change actually, only the commands will change what you need to execute on the OpenShift level and the normal Kubernetes cluster level. Here you will be using kubectl command, there you might be using some OC commands. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Interviews, like we are expecting real-time scenarios. See, anyway, we'll be discussing some scenarios, right? Those scenarios you can really explain in the interview. See, they doesn't ask you to do it practically, right? So whatever we say, it has to be confident, and you have to be enough. You have to, from your side, you have to be more understandable, right? So you need to understand the entire concept, what you have told to the interviewer. Okay. So that thing I will be covering. No need to too much worry about it. First, concentrate on understanding the Docker and Kubernetes concepts. What are the theoretical part I say? What are the task I give? That is enough for you to explain the real-time scenarios. That's enough. That is more than enough actually. Okay.
Hi, Sudhir. This is Praveen.
Hi.
Is
Yeah.
there any specification common for both Docker and Kubernetes? Not like separately for Docker,
Containers, yeah, Docker is nothing but you will create a standalone containers. Okay. If you want to form a cluster, then we go for Kubernetes. Why? Because it's as a standalone node, you cannot deploy your production related applications, right? Because if that node goes down, entire your containers goes down and your application will not be accessible. That's the reason we use Kubernetes. Since Kubernetes is also providing you some inbuilt load balancer, ingress, network policy, firewalls, external firewalls by Kubernetes itself. So that's the reason why we are using Kubernetes. Kubernetes ultimately creates a containers. We have to use some container tool like Docker, Creo, container D. So these are the tools again we use for Kubernetes to form the to create a containers. Okay, Kubernetes itself is not creating a containers. That is so clear and straightforward. It is a logical layer which is used to form a cluster and do some additional functionalities what Docker or any other container tool is not having. Okay, that's the thing. So Docker is your basic. Okay, you might heard one more thing that Kubernetes is deprecating the Docker support, right? You might heard somewhere some article or somewhere from your colleagues or something. It doesn't mean that Docker is not useful for you. Okay, only Kubernetes has stopped supporting for Docker as a container tool in the backend. What is the reason and all? There is a specific reason for that. I will be explaining when we come across that. Okay, when we form a Kubernetes cluster, I will show you both. With using Docker, without using Docker, I will form a Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and at there I will explain what is the reason why Kubernetes is dropping. Okay, support for your Docker. But Docker is really important for us to form custom images, like for automation purpose. Okay, everything. It's like in so many areas it is really important for us. Okay. So don't think that we should not learn Docker. Docker is really important for us. Okay. Though Kubernetes has stopped support for that, we have to use Docker.
Okay.
Any other questions, please? Today, I just want to answer the questions like what are the questions you have so that we can start the course without any other further questions. Actually, syllabus, I think you have already have the details. Okay, this is how the syllabus looks, topics and all. See, always I share the document, so this is how I teach. So these are the YAML files which I used to have for each and every topic. I hope you are able to see the screen, and this is the syllabus with what we have. Okay. So these are the topics which we are going to discuss, like operating system, networking, Docker tools. We have Docker engine. Okay, and then these many topics are there in the Docker engine itself. Okay, you can imagine. Okay, and then we have Docker's security tools. Okay, what is that exactly? Docker machine, Docker Swarm, Docker Compose. These are the topics which you can see. Okay, why I gave less topics on Docker Compose and Docker machine and Docker Swarm I clubbed together because it is not that much useful for you from now on. Okay, Docker machine I left. Only Docker Swarm. You have to learn what is Docker Swarm, how to form a cluster, because it is so simple to form a cluster than Kubernetes. Okay, Docker Compose we have to learn how to write a JSON, how to write a YAML, and then I will be explaining how to use a Docker Compose. Okay, but Docker Compose is an orchestration tool actually. Okay, what is orchestration? Okay, after explaining that, I will be talking about Docker Swarm. Okay, anything that is new technical term, I will explain that what is that first, and then I will be teaching you the actual point. Okay, this is Kubernetes related topics. So these are the topics which we have: stateful set object, volumes, daemon set, okay, volumes, FFRL volumes and persistent volumes, okay, PVC concept, storage class, services, secrets and cognitive map, ingress, horizontal pod autoscaling, scheduling and probes, jobs and cron jobs, Calico networking, authentication and authorization, dashboard, security KTS means how will you secure your Kubernetes cluster? This is important for CKS exam. Okay, the topics which are mentioned here, right? This is important for CKS exam. These topics, if you try to learn this in perfect, this is more than enough for us our CK and CKAD exam. Okay, and automation process. How to use an automation process to deploy your application. Okay, Kubernetes tasks. These are the few tasks which I've given you for understanding the Kubernetes and all. So this I will explain, and then Helm tools. What are the topics we are going to cover, and then Terraform. Okay, so these are the 9 topics which we have that we are going to discuss in this entire course. Okay, this is the syllabus that we have.
Sudhir, for setting up the local Docker registry, which tool you will be using?
a registry image itself. I'm not using any other tool. It's not a tool actually. Using the existing image called registry image, we will be forming our own registry and we'll push images to that particular registry. Okay.
Okay, so is this the way the like real time we will be using? Will
Say
not use
real
any
time, we
other tool
don't
like
rely on Docker registries. We rely on third-party registries like JFrog Artifact or a GitLab registry or Azure registry. See, cloud providers itself is providing some registries. You can search in Google Azure registry, Google Cloud registry, and AWS registry. Those are registries for to save the images in your own repository. Apart from that, if we have any other registry, we have Docker Hub, our own registry. Okay, we have GitLab registry. There are so many other registries. Why we cannot store in our own registry? Because if it is centralized server, that's fine. Okay, no problem with that. But if you are using same server where your Docker containers are running, the problem is if that machine is crashed, your registry is also gone, right? What are the images you stored in the registry will be crashed. So that's the reason the better solution is try to create a registry which is like centralized, okay, with some third-party tools or any other licensed tools. Don't rely on only on storing the registries. We have to store other YAML files, Helm charts and all, right? For that we call it as artifact. Okay, generally in real time either we use GitLab or JFrog artifact. You can search in Google JFrog artifact and all. So these are the artifacts which we use in order to store everything: images, manifest files, Helm charts, packages, so many things. Okay,
okay,
it's not only images. If you are really related only images, yes, then you can create a centralized server with a Docker installed and you can run a registry with as a container and you can store your images on that centralized server. The problem is we have to expose that particular Docker on the TCP protocol. By default, Docker will listen on Unix socket, means internally only you can communicate to your Docker from the CLI in the server to the same server itself. But if you want to connect from remote location from a network, you have to expose it. Okay, so there are some things which you have to do, but in real time we don't practically. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, please? Today I'm not going to start any topic. I just want to answer all the questions. What are the doubts you have? Okay. Your certification looks like this. If you want to see the certification, right? Just I'll show you one sample certification. Okay. Just a second. It is not that tough, guys. Only thing is like we have to manage time. What are the time was assigned to us, right? We have to ensure that all the 16 questions we are trying to clear in the given 2 hours itself. Because you should not get diverted. It's a practical. A proctor will be looking at you. Okay, so he'll be observing you. If you are watching here and there, he will give you some warnings. If you are not, it is like too practical. Okay, I'm not able to open the file. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. I'm not able to open the certificate. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Tomorrow I can show it. Yeah, so that's all about it. Please drop your email IDs. Yeah, you can see a notification, right? So please drop your email addresses and contact number. Personally, you can ping to Visualpath. Okay, no need to put it on public. If you're okay, you can put it, but you can share your email address and the contact number to the organization. Okay, they will create a WhatsApp group and they will give you some documents, prerequisite documents to you, Linux documents and all. Okay, will Docker syllabus cover enough to clear the Docker certification associate? So Docker associate exam is theoretical part. They will ask few questions related to Docker Enterprise Edition. You know what is Docker Enterprise Edition, right? We will be using Docker Community Edition. That's the only change. Most of the topics will be covered, like 80% of the topics will be covered. 20% of questions will be asked from the Enterprise Edition. Okay, so those things will not be covered, so that you can take care of it. It's not that tough actually. Okay, if you want I can give you some sample questions and all. So only 80% of the topics will be covered of the exam. I'm talking about only the exam that will be covered. Okay, yeah. So please share your email address and the contact number. one-to-one to organization. Okay, organization in the sense, sorry, Visualpath. You can select Visualpath and then directly type your message and share it. Okay.
Sudhir, one more question.
Yeah, go
Suppose
ahead.
I want to set up a pipeline using Jenkins to deploy my
Okay.
application to Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
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 So, is there anywhere in the pipeline do we need Ansible for that?
What you want to deploy? Is it PyLint?
No, Docker. I mean, application. Normal one application you
Okay.
can make it containerized
See,
and
in
deploy it.
the pipeline we have a concept called pod template. Okay. In Jenkins we have a plugin called, right? For Jenkins we have to use plugins. Okay. So we use Kubernetes plugin. You write a pod template that is nothing but a pipeline. So in the template you will specify which container you want to create with what image, and that container will be used as a node to launch your agent on that particular container and run your scripts. Okay. Sample example, let me show. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll open one of the sample pod template. If you are already aware of Jenkins, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you. One sample example I'll just show. That might help you. Just a second. Recent Jenkins pod template. Yeah. See this one. Hope you are able to see, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the plugins which are needed for me to do this particular pipeline. What is this plugins? Kubernetes, Kubernetes CLI, and Kubernetes credentials. You know what is credentials for? Because you need to contact your Kubernetes from this Jenkins, you have to have this config. Okay. So here you can see you are creating how many containers you want. Okay. This is the container name kubectl, and this is one more container name called test1. Just I gave some name. And this container was created with 20.04 image, and this container was created with 18.04 image. And now in the first stage I'm trying to clone some repository, and I'm running some ls-l command to see whether what are the files I have under this particular clone. This is the first stage. In the second stage I'm deploying some YAML files which are cloned from this particular repository. Okay. So I'm cloning that repository. In this container, I'm trying to execute kubectl command in order to deploy some manifest files, YAML files. In this, you can see pod initialization.yaml. I'm trying to run it, and I'm executing some commands. Okay. After that, it will give you the results. What happened exactly? Okay. This is something which we have. Got the point? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is how it is. This is what you are looking for.
No, I was just trying to understand, like, what is the role of Ansible, or do we
Ansible in the sense you
require?
can see now. Let's say you want to do some configuration changes on your Kubernetes cluster nodes, not on the Kubernetes level. You want to do changes on the Kubernetes nodes. Ansible, we use that for that. Okay. If you really want to deploy some applications on the Kubernetes cluster, don't use Ansible. Okay. So you can use Helm charts. Try to learn Helm charts. So you can use Helm container in order to run the Helm charts. Now I used kubectl command, right? Instead of that, you will use Helm. Okay. Helm, if I say it's a chart name, automatically it will download the chart from the repository which you specified, and then it will deploy on your Kubernetes cluster. Simple, right? No need to use Ansible. Ansible is only to do some configuration changes and configure and deploy some applications. Sorry, install some packages or remove some packages. Do some configuration changes on your node level, not on the Kubernetes level. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
So this is one of the practical thing which we are going to see. So this will be helpful for you in your project, or when someone give you, when you are looking for a job, right? Sometimes they will give you some task. They will give you some link. They'll ask you to answer those questions, some scenarios, and give it back to them. So sometimes you might get a scenarios like this. Okay. You have to be in a position to crack. Okay. So this might be helpful for you both in the real-time project as well as this one as well. Okay. I'll explain you in depth what is this exactly. What is custom installation, Jenkins custom installation, which means that if you want to customize your Jenkins, how to do it. Okay. So this is a pipeline to create a zip file that's not required for you, but this might be helpful for your career. Okay. Yeah. So these are the whole bunch of documents or whatever it is. Linux topics going to cover how many days? Only 2 days, not more than that. Whatever is needed for your Kubernetes and Docker, only those topics I will be discussing, not pure administration level. Okay, because we should not waste time, right? Totally it will take 45 days, including excluding Saturdays and Sundays, means 2 months. Let's say 2 months. Okay, we are not in hurry to complete the syllabus by skipping some topics or not going in depth. So let us go in depth, crystal clear. Let us understand the topics. Okay, you should not look back saying that this topic is not covered. Okay, so let's go in depth, try to understand each and every concept, and then that's all. So that's the reason it will take 45 days, excluding Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah. Any other questions, please? No? Thank you. So management will be informing. I think it's the same time, 7 to 8. You can join daily with this particular link. Okay. Please post your. I see 27 members and I don't see any update. Or maybe you have given a private messages to the management. That's fine. I'm not related to any industry, but our industry not changes the platform. In today's class, everything you say is in a technical language. Containers, cluster, YAML, etc. I doubt whether I can be able to understand that. See, this is the only thing some people get confused with the technical terms. What I've told is only to understand that if someone asks you what you are learning in this particular course, for only that thing I have explained what are the things we are going to understand in this entire course. Once I start from the day one, right, you will understand what is Docker, what is YAML, what is JSON, and you will be in a position to explain that. Okay, no need to worry too much that I will understand this or not. It's not a scripting language, so half of the job is done. Okay, if it is scripting language, you could have worried about it. Okay, it is not a scripting language. You have to understand what is that, what it does, how to utilize. That's the 3 topics which you have to understand. What is that, how to utilize it, where to apply it. Okay, so these are the 3 things which you have to understand for any tool. Okay, so that's we are going to discuss. No need to worry too much about it. Okay, if you are completely new to these technical terms, no need to worry. Or to explain the people that these are the topics which are going to cover, so I talked about that technical terms. Yeah, so from tomorrow we'll understand. So I'll be using Oracle VirtualBox. If you are comfortable with any other a tool, actually virtualization tool, right? So these are like tools where you can create a virtual machines without disturbing your base operating system. If you want to create a VM, and if I want to install Linux operating system, you can do with this. If you are already familiar with VMware Workstation and all, you can use that. Okay, I'm comfortable with Oracle VirtualBox, and I will show you what is this exactly, how to install, how to create a virtual machine on top of this. Okay, from tomorrow we'll be starting the actual session on our entire course. Okay, we'll starting from there till the Terraform topics. I see so many private messages actually. Sorry, I was not able to see it. So much time needed to crack CKA. Okay, I answered that. On-premises setup will be good enough for practicing to clear the exam. Yes, obviously. Why not? See, exam is all related to writing a YAML files and creating the applications. It's not about forming the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, that's one thing to be clear. Other private questions. What is that? See, you can unmute your mic and just ask me. No need to worry. See, everybody is new to this technology. No need to worry about whether it is a silly question or a perfect question. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, whatever you have in your mind, just ask me. If I'm not able to reply you to your message.
Yeah, hi Sudhir.
That's base. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, in the market, how the Docker based on Docker and Kubernetes, how the jobs will be there.
Jobs are like, I cannot say straightforward. Like we have plenty of jobs, which are like currently organizations are looking for to containerize these applications. Okay, the benefit what they have and the benefit what they see, they are trying to run their applications on the container level. Everybody is trying to adopt. So for that we need engineers, right, who are expertise in that Docker and Kubernetes, right? So when you will be expertise only when you have some grip on the particular tools or the topics what we have, what we can do maximum with that particular tools. Okay, so you have to be strong enough in that particular Docker and Kubernetes to run your containers from the virtual machine or the bare metal server to the container level. Okay, That's where the industry is looking for. We have so many openings on Docker and Kubernetes. No need to worry about openings. Next 5 years or 3 years, you will have the same openings. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Sudhir, I have one more doubt. I need,
Yeah.
and that is I'm new to the Kubernetes and Docker, and I came from the admin background. And since you
Okay.
are saying that Kubernetes will be as a container thing, right? Then how these
Yeah.
containers in this one particular node are we creating the multiple containers and deploying the applications in that particular container or something
Yeah.
different?
It's like simple. Like let's say you know about virtual machines, right?
Yes, yes.
So virtual machines, what we are doing, we are taking a bare metal server. On top of that, you will be creating a virtual machines, right? Do we
Yes,
have any
exactly.
limit to the virtual machines? It depends, right? It depends upon the resource you have. Based on that, we can decide how many virtual machines can be created on the bare metal server. Similar to that, in this containerization tool like Docker and Kubernetes can be deployed on virtual machines or on bare metal server or on the cloud instances. And you can create how many containers you want. Depends upon the resource. Okay.
Okay, is there any particular applications we can install it on the container or could be any type of an application?
Any type of applications on the Linux operating system. If you have installed Docker or any containerization tool, you cannot create a Windows containers. That's a clause.
Okay.
But on Windows, if you are using any containerization tool like Docker, we can create Linux containers as well. Okay, that's a major thing which we have difference. Okay.
Okay, what about the CPU
Any
and
application,
utilization?
we can run database applications, we can run web application, middleware applications, any non-SQL, SQL, any sort of applications, cache applications, and then we have key value pair storage applications. We can run any sort of applications on this Kubernetes or Docker. There is no restrictions
Okay,
as of now.
yeah, okay. What about the if one node if you are having the 3 to 4 containers and if you're having a large applications like as in Oracle or SQL or whatever it is, what could be the
Okay.
CPU and memory utilization for that?
See, first of all, you have to make a decision. How many containers I can run on that node? Based on that, you can schedule it. Let's say I want to launch this particular specific container which uses more CPU and memory. I'll be launching on a specific node where other containers are not running. Huge applications are not running on the same node. I will distribute them among all the nodes what I have. You have to think about it and you have to deploy. It's not that Kubernetes will do it automatically, but if you want to control that as well, we can do it. Okay, saying that this application should run on a node where you have more resources. Okay, that can be done. That can be controlled.
Okay.
See, it all depends upon how much CPU and memory you have. Based on that, you have to take a decision. Okay, these are like planning what you do before deploying your applications.
Yeah, okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi Sudhir. Sudhir, I want to ask one question. Like, I don't have enough RAM in my laptop, and like we are going to set up it
That's
via.
what I've told, right? See, I'm teaching for few of the people. Let's say I'm using this one actually. Let me show you. Okay. For some backers, I'm explaining in my Google account. Okay. Let me show that. It's not that you have to buy a laptop or you have to increase the resource. No need to waste the money. You can use this free account. Okay. You can create with your Gmail account. Okay. They will ask you ₹1. They will detect. You can give debit card if you are really worried. Don't give credit card. If you want, you can give a debit card. Here I'm using compute engine. I'm not using Kubernetes engine. You can see this, right? This is Kubernetes service. Okay, I'm using instances. Instance in the sense I'm creating servers in GCP. You can see this is the Kubernetes cluster actually. Whenever I want, I will start and I will run. I can do it from my laptop, base laptop. I can do it. I can practice my Kubernetes. No need to worry about my system, right? No need to plan something. I need to buy some RAM or CPU or increase some CPU or memory to my system. It's not needed. You can just use free of accounts, right? Why to waste money?
Yeah, yeah,
Hope you got it right. What we are doing exactly.
yeah.
So that's what I told. If people doesn't have enough resource on your system, don't plan anything to buy. Just log in to the GCP account, create it, update your card details, a debit card or credit card. They'll deduct 1 rupee, and after 2 days, once it is verified, they will give it back to you, that 1 rupee as well. And then this one you can use it for until it's not like AWS. Okay, if you go to the billing section, you can use it for 3 months. They'll give you a credit of 22,000 rupees. Okay, until that is done, whichever comes first, then your account will be blocked. Okay, to use next time you have to pay for it. It will ask you, do you want to continue with the billing? If not, it will block. That's it. So simple. It's not like AWS. You see, I have 19,000 left. Okay, so remaining 19,000 for me, so I can use it. See, I got 21,776 rupees. I completed only few, actually 2,000 rupees, I guess, approximately. Okay, because always I used to create a VMs, and after that, once my practice was done, I used to shut down this particular virtual machines. That's it. So simple, right? Anywhere I can log in, right? It's not my laptop. If you configure your Kubernetes cluster, you have to be on the same network. It's not like that. Okay, I can log in from any system, from anywhere, and I can practice my Kubernetes. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We can for that instance we
Hi,
can
Vardhan.
talk.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For that
Your voice
instances we
breaking
can.
actually.
Yeah, my voice is audible for you, clear?
Yeah. Better now.
For that instance, we can run both Docker and Kubernetes on that instances.
Yeah, you can. You can create. See, simple. Instead of creating virtual machines on this Oracle Virtual Box, I'm using GCP account. That's it. This virtual machines, technically in cloud, it is called as instance. That's it. You can create Docker, Kubernetes, whatever Docker Swarm cluster, whatever you want, you need to run. That's it. It's like virtual machines which you have created in GCP account. Okay, somewhere in the data center of Google Cloud. Okay, here it's my data center. It looks like my data center, right? Assume that it is my data center. My laptop is my bare metal server. These are virtual machines where I want to practice my Linux operating system. That's it. Hope you understood now.
Yeah, understand. Thank you, Sudhir.
Okay then. Thank you. Thank you guys.